Let's go to Martin Houston, former fullback at the University of Alabama. How are you, Martin? Welcome into the game in T-Town.
I'm doing great, Ryan, and glad to be back on the air with you. This time last week, or just shortly thereafter, had a little chaos hit the studio.
Hey, I think I said it. I said it like this, man. I said Martin Houston joins us in 3 minutes. We took a break, and little did we know there was other plans out there for us.
That's right. So I'm just glad to be able to be in with you today.
All right. Now, today what we're doing, because it's Friday the 13th, we've been celebrating number 13, Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, God. I'm not taking the bait. I remember another left-handed number 13, so I give him a shout-out to David Smith, who's now one of the SEC's better officials. How about that?
I'm just teasing with you. I don't even know if we've mentioned Tua's name the entire day. We had Dwayne Rankin on earlier from the Montgomery Advertiser, and he actually wrote a Tua Jalen article. We spent 20 minutes with him. We didn't even cover the article. We just talked Alabama football. I mean, just about because there's so many other conversations. As we get closer to SEC Media Days, we begin to put this team under a microscope, and not just quarterback, but other positions. And I want to focus on the offensive line here for just a couple of minutes. 73 and 71 on the left side. As I go back to that Georgia game, didn't have a great performance. I was watching some of that game earlier today. Give me your evaluation of last year's offensive line. Then we'll kind of work our way to other things.
Well, I don't know that offensive line, ironically, it sounds kind of crazy. I don't know that offensive line actually ever really gelled. I mean, sometimes I look at Womack and I'm going, was he a Band-Aid or is he a legitimate starter in the SEC? 12 years ago, when Nick Saban arrived, I wouldn't have asked that question. But in today's game, is he a liability? If I had ever came against Alabama, I would have taught my pass rusher that normally lines up on that right side. I would have flipped every game we played at Alabama. I would have put Womack on an island and said, baby, if you stop me, good luck. And then you move down from Lester Cotton. He was up and down, Ryan. He literally would be an All-American and the best drive blocker. And then the next play, it may look like he didn't quite have it. And they talk about having the motor. He didn't have that motor to me that once it started revving up, it kept going. But he had moments where he looked like an All-American. And then you flip over to Pierce-Bacher. Baker, he's never been one of my guys. I've always said somebody else should be in that guy's spot. And I know that sounds bad, but he's never been – and that's because he's a different style. Another guy I didn't like was Ryan Kelly, but, of course, he's one of the best ever played. But I don't like that style of offensive lineman. And to me, I probably critique him through bad lens. But at times he just looked like a liability, like he could be taken advantage of if he was ever one-on-one with a really strong – like Deron Payne would eat his lunch, in my opinion, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10. Jonah Williams, the experiment to me, he moved from right tackle to left tackle. He never, ever, to me, seemed like the same dominant player that he was the year before. So when I break it down, I look at it and go, the only guy that I feel like was like rock solid was Bozeman. And the reality of it is, Ryan, that's why that offensive line did what it did. I think because you had the blue-collar, hard-nosed, smart, intelligent, do it right, maximum effort every time guy in the middle. And that's why I think of all offensive linemen and all the movement, they got to find that spirit, that heart that Bozeman played for the Crimson Tide, or this team may not live up to its potential.
Well, I think that's the point. You go back to this offensive line for just a couple of minutes, and we were watching the game. We were sitting at lunch, and I was up and just watching the game and glanced up at and just kind of focused on a couple of different things of the game. And it looked like to me, if you didn't have a mobile quarterback, I really thank God that Jalen's got a good set of wheels. That's all I'm going to say.
Right. And Ryan, I know this is – okay, people who think this is about Jalen and Tua, please don't hear this. I don't know if Alabama wins that game if Jonah Williams doesn't get hurt. We give Tua all the credit because that's what quarterbacks get. They get the credit when they win, and they get the blame when you lose. And so I get that. But two other things happened in that game that we don't give the same credit as we do Tua, because Tua made the pass that becomes an instant legendary moment in a game of print. But the reality of it is, Alex Leatherwood came in and shut down that left tackle. I mean, that left side pass rush. And Tua now all of a sudden didn't have all of that activity in his face, where Jalen had it on his backside, which he already tends to roll to the right. Well, that was magnified with the pass rush that John was letting happen. And then think about how fast Tua gets the ball out, Ryan, when he reads that play. But if all of a sudden, if he didn't do that the first two series, did he?
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? But then when Jonah went down, all of a sudden Tua looked like a different quarterback as well. And so I don't think we give Alex Leatherwood the credit he deserves for what he was able to do to shut down that pass rush.
All right, I want you to tell me what you think about this. Okay, I'm just going to throw it out, and I'm not an offensive line coach, but I'm going to throw out just a possibility. What if we put let's say Alex Leatherwood goes back to left tackle and he plays like he did at that second half. You bump either Jonah Williams back to right tackle, you move Womack back to the guard or maybe inside guy. Maybe Jonah goes to center. Maybe I'm just saying. I'm trying to throw up some scenarios, and I wonder how much they will experiment a little bit of that. Maybe they're very comfortable with Ross Pierce-Baker calling the responsibility at blocking. Maybe that's why he's at the center position. But you often think to get the best five guys on the field, and then I go to other guys that I think that can contribute. You talk about Jedrick Wills. It's going to be unique to see how Brent Key works the best five in whatever combination they work in, because I really do. I think Alex Leatherwood's one of the best five out there.
Yeah, I think with offensive linemen, it's so much unlike all the other positions in football. Chemistry is where it's at. It literally, when you say wide receiver unit, running back unit, it really doesn't mean the same as when you say the offensive unit. Unit meaning one, and those five guys have to play as one. The reason I think they moved Pierce-Baker to center, Ryan, is because of his experience and his years of hearing the line calls and all of that. And I think with Loxley and where we're going, and even it becomes even more important, Ryan, if Tua is the starter, by the way, because you're going to have probably a lot more complex pass routes and different things that may get worked in, or if Jalen has improved as a passer. So it's going to become even more important that unit works together. And I think you take a fifth-year guy who has – don't forget, they've already tried this experiment with Pierce-Baker, and Bozeman just took the job the last 10 days of camp. So they have confidence that he can make the plays. They just thought the best five was Bozeman at center and Pierce-Baker at guard. Now, when you move him to center, Ryan, and I know this may sound crazy, your least dominant player can play at center better than he can other positions, in my opinion, if he's smart. Because most of the time he has someone helping him to his left or his right, Cumberland. They don't leave centers on the island as much as they used to in the pass blocking schemes. So that leaves you with the ability to put in a Leatherwood, a Jonah. I mean, if I was doing this, I would put Jonah back at right tackle, because that's what he's comfortable with. And if Tua's a quarterback, that's his backside. Okay, I'm worried for Tua if Womack becomes the backside protector. Okay, I mean, let's just think about that for a second. If his backside, his blind side, is the right side, I mean, it's not if it is, it is. And Womack is a guy who has to protect it. I'm concerned about that. That's why I think you'll see a Jedrick Wills and either Leatherwood or Jonah back on that side and Leatherwood on the left. And I just think Jedrick Wills is going to show that he needs to be on the field somewhere. And then you got that left guard position, which I think it'll be Lester Cotton or Womack battling, for one of those guard positions with Wills. And I think the two tackles will be Leatherwood and Williams in some form or fashion.
And even with the mobility, of Jalen Hurts, this team still ranks 70th in the country in giving up sacks. 70th in the country in protecting the quarterback.
Yeah, and when you think about that, Ryan, that's based on the number of sacks given up per pass play, right?
Yes, it is.
We didn't pass it that much. I mean, Saban says he wants balance, which means
it's a great point. It's a scary thought when you bring it up like that.
Yeah, because that means that you're going to have this offensive line having to protect more often than less often. Now, will Tua's release and speed get rid of it? Do we have more sacks because Jalen held it? I would say probably not, because when he held it, he still had the escapability to get away. I think a lot of the sacks that he gave up was when there just wasn't a lot of protection, and he was not able to escape. But it just makes this team have to pass block more. And I don't know if you want this. If the offensive line hasn't improved, which I think they will, you don't want them having to pass block more often unless that protection has gotten better.
All right, so give me the opinion here. Okay, you can get worried about Alabama's secondary. We're trying to create stuff. We're the number one team in the country. We're 31-point favorite over Louisville, and we're trying to put it under a microscope. Nick Saban called and said, "Listen, you guys have got to quit doing this 45-0 type scores. You got to find weaknesses in my team." All right, so tell me what you're most concerned about. Defensive backs with only Deontay Thompson. You got Trayvon Diggs, who's played some limited roles there, but you got plenty of talent. Defensive backs, offensive line, or all these new coaches, and trying to let that chemistry kind of gel together. What would be the most concern?
My biggest concern with this team is probably Tasha Ford's in-game play calling ability.
Oh, okay.
The defensive backs, I say we say so much about them being young and all of that. Well, the reality of it is there's been teams with a lot less talent have to replace 2 or 3 DBs and have no experience. Savion Smith is a guy who's played 2 years, 1 year of SEC, 1 year of junior college. So you're not as young as you think. Trayvon Diggs, Ryan, is simply a guy who lost his confidence in that spring game. And then every time he got better in the fall, he got hurt. So I don't think we're as far off there as we think. It's just young and working together. My concern is game one, that guy over there, whether you like him, hate him, love him, whatever, think he's a sleazeball, Petrino can flat out coach offense. And we've all made the assumption because Lamar Jackson isn't there, that Louisville will be worse on the offensive side of the ball. That's not necessarily the case. Bobby Petrino made his offense fit Lamar Jackson's talent. But what did he do with quarterbacks over at Arkansas? He made Arkansas what? Competitive with his passing game. So he will – I think if I'm coming against Alabama, you know what I'm going to do, Ryan? I'm going to be NASCAR all day long. Why? Because Tasha Poi will be for the first time in live rounds having to make the next play call in a hurry. And I don't know how good he'll be. And that would be my biggest concern, and that's where I would attack this Alabama defense. I'm not going to attack this Alabama defense thinking that I'm going to have an advantage if they get to get their play set and I get my play set, that I'm going to be able to take advantage of their secondary. They got 4 and 5 stars in every position, and freshmen play every year in all types of colleges. So I'm looking at it from how can I get an advantage on them? And I go back to, and I know this is going way back, but when Louisville played Alabama in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
Well, we call it the Fiasco Bowl.
It is.
All of us that played on it. Do you remember what they did? Browning Nagel and Howard Snellenberger, every time we tried to change, modify, or adjust our defense, they ran to the line and they snapped the ball and ran a play, or they snapped it and got us with too many men on the field. That would be the same approach I'd take against this team. Catch them out of position. Beat them to the punch. Don't let them get lined up. Don't let that talent see where I'm at. Move them around. And I think Petrino, having all fall, all summer to get ready, is going to have that type of game plan. And that's what my biggest concern is.
Hey, Nick Saban just sent me a thank you text. Thank you. He appreciates us. And I mean, I guess, in a lot of ways, I mean, listen, and I guess think about this. I mean, think about where this program is. I mean, let me sort of paint this. You replace 6 new coaches on the staff. You replace 8 starters on the defensive side of the football. You replace both coordinators. You're in a quarterback battle, which is a good thing. And then you're still talking that this team is the team to beat. There's no other program that could go through that type of changeover and still expect it to be the best team in college football. And they will be the best team in college football. But it's amazing where Nick Saban has got this program that they can go through everything that we've talked about for 20 minutes and still be the team to beat in college football.
Hey, and the only thing about that, Ryan, that would not speak to a disastrous season is the fact that you're replacing 8 starters on defense. Everything else about what you said sounds like a program that has been down for the last 10 years, and they're trying to do something to get it back up, and that makes this even more amazing. This is a voluntary circumstance or situation where you go out and change coaches, coordinators, et cetera, and yet you still are expected to come in and perform at a high level. I said it from, I guess, about the second and third year on. I say Nick Saban process is so straight and so easy once you know it to follow. It is literally plug and play. And this year, if they manage to make it to the national championship, will solidify that process, being a plug and play. As long as he's the one that's plugging and playing, is absolutely an unstoppable force if they're able to win yet another national title.
Hey, Martin, I'm going to throw it back to you and talk about your agency, please.
Alabama One Agency Insurance Services, your one source for insurance, whether you need auto, home, life, commercial, whatever your insurance needs, boats, toys, ATVs, UTVs, and more, we can insure it. All you need to do is give us a call at 205-342-0112. That's 205-342-0112. Or if you want to request a quote online, go to alabama1agency.com. That's Alabama One Agency Insurance. We are owned by Alabama One Credit Union, so we can finance it here and insure it here. Give us a call. We'd love to have you, or visit alabama1agency.com.
Martin Houston, I appreciate you, man. Thank you, sir. I hope you have a great weekend.
Appreciate you, and roll tide.